Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gordon. We are back with another video. Today, we're looking at answering the question of why do you earn the majority of your fees in V3 liquidity provision at the edges or the wings of your range. We were having this discussion with the Fast Track group the other day. We were talking about why it seems that at the edges of your range, right before you drop out on the lower side or the upper side, you're actually earning more fees compared to when you're right in the middle of that range. That's what we're talking about in today's video. Again, if you have questions, if you have comments, please drop them below this video in the comment section. We want to cultivate conversation. Check out the links for the UIG as well. But without further ado, let's jump in and talk about why you earn most of those fees at the edges of your range. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is we need to set a little bit of context because the phenomenon we're about to refer to here is specific to concentrated liquidity. Many of you are familiar with this concept, but for those of you that are a little bit newer, when it comes to Uniswap v3 or other concentrated pools across other protocols, we are talking about providing liquidity in a very specified range between two specific price points for a given asset. So if I jump over to the Ethereum chart here, we're going to use just a very quick example to say if we're providing liquidity for Ethereum between 2116 and 2888 on the upper end, this is what we refer to as a concentrated range. It means that when you're providing liquidity in this specified range, you are only earning fees when price is moving inside of that range, and if you veer outside of that range, you are no longer earning fees for providing liquidity. And the phenomenon we're talking about in today's video is the fact that right before you go out of range at these edges, you tend to earn a higher percentage fee when that is about to happen. And we're going to talk about the reason for that and explain why that is the case. But you need to understand that this premise or phenomenon refers to the concept when we're providing concentrated liquidity. Okay. A big reason for this is to do with liquidity distribution in concentrated pools. So, again, what you typically see in concentrated pools when you're providing liquidity is that the majority of the liquidity essentially moves towards where the current spot price of the asset is. And that's what you're basically seeing on this particular chart. Again, this is an example for wrap Bitcoin with Ethereum, but the liquidity distribution, as you can see here, means that the liquidity in general moves towards the current spot price of the asset, which is represented right in the middle of this chart. Obviously, if you want to earn fees, you're going to see the majority of the liquidity from yourself and other liquidity providers merging towards the actual spot price where the asset pair is trading at this current moment, because that's where people are going to earn fees when they're providing concentrated liquidity. They need to have or make sure that the price of the asset is inside of their range. So most of the fees don't come from when the price just hangs out in the middle of your range, because that's where all the liquidity is, okay? This makes sense when you think about it from a first principles level. Of course, price is going to attract the liquidity in the first place, and that means that the most amount of liquidity, or the majority of the liquidity, is going to be right around that exact spot price. And so if we were to come back to our Ethereum example here, that means the majority of the liquidity is going to be kind of hanging out in this zone, because this is where all the price action has been taking place over the past few days. Okay, liquidity distribution is the main reason why when price is hanging out right in the middle of that range, you're not earning the majority of your fees, and rather, when price begins to move towards the edges, you can see if we had a range here defined between this area here and this area here, or maybe even a little bit more narrow, if we were even to just go here and here, you can see that as the price moves towards these edges of your range, there is less and less liquidity as it moves out towards those edges. Okay. What does that mean? Well, if we jump down to this chart, it essentially means that the majority of your fees come when the price moves towards those edges. And what we're seeing here represented with the yellow line is that obviously as you move towards the wings or the edges of your range, the amount of liquidity that you have in the pool makes up a larger percentage of the actual total liquidity, or the distribution of that, because there is less capital out beside these wings. Okay, if I come back down to this chart, what that means is the yellow line is representing the potential fees that you're going to generate because there's less liquidity at the wings of your particular range, because again, price has attracted all that liquidity. And when it begins to deviate from that initial entry price, you're going to see that you're going to earn more and more fees at the edges of the range. Why is that? Once again, that is because your liquidity becomes the dominant source when you move towards those edges. There are fewer other liquidity providers out there because the price action is moving. That means you get a larger slice of the trading volume. Again, because there is less liquidity at these wings, you're going to be earning a higher percentage of the trading volume fees right before price moves outside of your range. And the third reason is because many traders will often see the edges of those ranges as opportunities to either buy the dip or sell the rip. So in the case of moving out of range to the upside, you're going to see many traders selling at these areas because they typically are aligned with take profit areas or take profit zones. Traders are selling out to take profit. That means there's more liquidity in order for you to generate fees from. And similarly, on the downside, you have the ability to earn more fees from traders coming in to scoop up the dip. There is more volume in these areas due to those buy the dip, sell the rip scenarios, and therefore you have the ability to capture more of the swap volume. Okay, I hope this concept is making sense, guys. Drop a comment below this video if you've experienced this yourself, because I think everyone at some point in their liquidity provision journey will begin to understand this particular phenomenon. And essentially, the other way that we can word it is Uniswap V3, and I'm just using Uniswap here as an example, but this does apply to other concentrated protocols like Orca and Radium on Solana, or DEXs like Cetus and Turbos on Sui. But those V3 pools assign more liquidity price per tick when LPs concentrate in the center of a popular range. You're obviously sharing that price point with many others. That's what we were looking at up here on the chart. You're sharing that price point with so many other liquidity providers. But when the price comes out to the wings, the liquidity is much thinner and your share of the pool is higher. Therefore, you earn a bigger cut or a bigger slice of each swap happening in that area. And if that is combined with traders coming in to buy the dip or sell the rip, it can be very lucrative for you, and you'll earn some very good fees right before you bleed out the edges of your range. So ironically, your liquidity makes the most money right before it goes out of range, rather than when you are smack bang in the middle of the range. But that is the reason why, guys. That is the reason why you're generating significantly more fees on a percentage basis at the edges of that range compared to when price is smack bang in the middle. Drop a comment below this video if this is making sense, if you've seen this yourself, or if you've wondered why this is happening in the cases where you're providing concentrated liquidity to different trading pairs across DEXs in V3 pools, or even across different protocols like the ones I mentioned. That is it for today's video, guys. Again, if you got any value at all out of today's explainer, please make sure to drop a thumbs up on the video below. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you're looking to take back control of your financial future and take your DeFi skill set to the next level, we are helping hundreds of fast track clients every single day take that next step, start generating consistent cash flow and yield in decentralized finance. If you want to start that journey for yourself, check out the links below this video in the description. Head over to the UIG. There's even a completely free course that you can take to take that skill set and then think about joining the fast track program as well. Check it out in the description below, and we'll catch you in the next one.